Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, a place where you can take some time to learn the benefits of acknowledging body language and nonverbal communication, how to identify whether somebody is attracted to you, somebody is lying to you, and whether somebody generally likes you or doesn't, and so on and so forth. This will be of an incredible benefit for your daily communications, with your career, with your hobbies, within any sort of person-to-person situation ever. Okay, so if you enjoy what we have to speak about and you want to continue learning about reading minds, essentially, click the subscribe button. Thank you. Okay, so this is a frequent behavior we'll see from now up until forever. All right, so this is the crossing of the arms. Now, the crossing of the arms can be taken and approached in a whole wealth of different ways. All right, there's many a different variation of the arm cross, and what we're going to look at today in particular is the forming of a barrier. Okay, so some people may consider it a self-hug. We're not talking about that today. The individual isn't hugging themselves. What they're doing is forming a barrier. All right, the individual in front of you, if you can see the arms, solid, straight across, creating this barrier. All right, so this behavior is also known as an arm barrier or a shield, right? So we're talking about the arms folded across the chest, and it's one of the most common gestures you will see. All right, you'll see it happening in real time. So an individual may already be posed in this manner, or you may say something, or they may think something which links to this body's reaction of creating this barrier. All right. So if you've seen any of my videos before, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give you just a few seconds to have a look at the image in front of you and the name of the crossing of the arms, the arm barrier, and have a consider of any thoughts of what it could mean. All right, what it could be, what it could mean, and what it indicates. So just have a moment to think. Right, okay, so to start, the arm barrier, the crossing of the arms, is closed body language, all right? So it's not open body language. They aren't exposing their torso and their stomach and essentially their internal organs to you, all right? That means that they are defensive, all right? They don't feel open. They don't feel they can do so because there's a degree of threat in the subconscious, if not the conscious mind, which is having them cover up and create a barrier. All right, it's defensive. So I apologize if you watched previous videos, but these behaviors do interlinked, and you do see the same biological links with a lot of these behaviors. So just to recap for anybody who's already been aware of this, what happens is the body subconsciously covers the trunk, so the chest and the stomach, when in the face of a potential threat or danger. Now, it doesn't have to be a literal violent threat, okay, because our brain still considers a threat of leaving the oven on, or a threat of somebody saying something unfortunate or hurting your feelings. Our brain still perceives that as a potential big cat preparing to jump on us, all right? So what we do in a real time to those stimuli is cover ourselves up, cover our internal organs up, in the fear of potentially losing our life. It's a survival mechanism, all right? Most of these behaviors are based and rooted within survival mechanisms, and as we know, the freeze, the flight, and the fight response. Okay, so it's defensive, happens in real time. So you're on a date with an individual and everything's good, everything smiles, you're looking at each other across the table, and then you say, what did you think of, that film the other night? And they had a bad experience with the film because they had been watching it and found something a little bit traumatic within that film, okay? Maybe something hurt their feelings. So that's the first thing they think of, and in doing so, they cover themselves up, they block themselves off with their arms, they create a barrier, okay? So that's not in the face of you being a potential predator, but they are protecting themselves from that unfortunate and painful idea that has just sprung up into mind, okay? And you'll see that happen in real time, and you will then be able to sort of dig a bit deeper, because you know how to identify this now and say, was there something up with the film? You look a little bit uncomfortable. And trust me, once you identify it, people are happy that you build a strong link with people when you can identify and, speak the truth to people, because not many people can do it. So when an individual comes around and says you look uncomfortable and speak the truth, they'll open up to you, all right? So it happens in real time, okay? Just a little side note, an individual can be cold. We've all crossed our arms when we're cold, all right? But we're not talking about that. So just take that into consideration, the environment, okay? If you're passing someone who's got a t-shirt on and it's snowing outside, they may have their arms crossed. It might not be due to discomfort, all right? So when we're speaking of the barrier, we are at this moment speaking of the arms in particular, not the hands, but the arms can be gripped, okay? The hands can be forming fists, the hands could have their thumbs up or down, but we're just focusing on the arms. The reason why we're not going to focus on the hands is because the variations of the hands can link into a whole bunch of different other behaviours. The crossing will still be there, the barrier is still formed, okay, regardless of the behaviour, so it always will be closed body language. And if I can just let you know now, if there's one thing you as an individual, as a conscious being, can look after, make sure you don't do this, okay? Don't go to an interview with your arms closed. Don't get in an argument and close your arms. Don't do this behavior, because subconsciously people will see that you're not receptive, and potentially what you're gonna do or may do is trigger a defensive response in them, not only regarding mirroring and mirror neurons which are within us, which I need to do a video on because it's incredibly important when it comes to body language, but you're going to be raising your arms up, exposing the elbows, which can be used quite dangerously. So the subconscious mind, who's always keeping an eye out for anything to survive, any potential threat, it's going to deem your body language and your behavior as contrary to friendship and positivity. So just keep that in mind. Keep your arms down, keep your arms free, and that's it. Right, so we've covered the protection of the internal organs. When we were animals, we used to walk on all fours. When we evolved or started to evolve, we started to walk upright, we were bipedal. In doing so, our hands became weapons, our elbows became weapons, and we started to expose our internal organs. All right, keep it in mind. Alongside that, this behaviour can cluster with the head being either down or up being a little more resentful, a little more prideful, but if the head is down, what that signifies is not only are they creating a barrier with the arms, but they're also defending their neck. They are under a serious threat and feel the need to defend themselves, okay? This is all very negative behaviour. All right. Alongside the arms being crossed over, creating a barrier, where's the body facing? Are they still facing towards you, or is the body facing away? Because as that body starts to consistently move away from you, you're losing them, okay? Your communication is getting skewed. When you hear about someone giving somebody the hard shoulder, it's because they are so far away from them that they've turned around completely 180, and the other individual is looking at their back, all right? So the more frontal and ventral tends to be better in a way, but so direct, especially if it's man-to-man, can be deemed aggressive. So it's all within the realms of that particular environment and communication, all right? As we know, the most important thing is to acknowledge the entire cluster and read everything and every moment as a different new experience. You need to be able to read the room, read the individual, read the signals you're giving off, and trust your gut, which you will do in due time if you continue watching these videos and understanding and applying this information. So that's it realistically. I won't go any further because there is a lot more depth to go into this, but if I am to sum it up and give you something to take home, it is that the crossing of the arms creates a barrier. Perhaps you do it in certain situations, as it's a very regular behaviour to see. There's nothing abnormal about this behaviour. So if you do it, if your friends do it, if your family does it, if people you see on television do it, you need to acknowledge that it's creating a barrier from them to the world, or perhaps creating a barrier from them to themselves, because they may be thinking about, negative stimuli, which isn't comfortable for them. So what they're doing is they're closing themselves off from the world, creating a shield to cover up the chest, potentially the internal organs of the stomach to some degree, and to keep themselves alive in the face of the threatening state of mind they've been put into. All right. Can cluster with the head down in a worst case scenario, and can also be up if they are just simply not being receptive and blocking you out in a state of pride, such as your boss, a management individual, or an authoritarian sort of individual who feels like they are on a different plane to you. Okay, you'll see this with your boss a lot. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope that there has been a few bits and bobs you can remember and apply into the real world. If you are to take one thing from it, just don't do it yourself, okay? Your communication will flow a lot better, and you won't spark, you'll be a little further away from sparking negative feelings in others. All right? So thank you for watching. You've been listening to Everyday Superpower. Don't forget to click subscribe. Thank you.